Hiya guys, Will here, doing another collection video. This is every Spider-Man figure I own, barring one, which is a magnetic movie Spider-Man that's on my fridge, and I'm not moving it for anyone. But yeah, so quickly going to jump into this video. I'll quickly explain I've been ill and busy with work and the band and stuff, so that's why there haven't been many videos, but I'm going to try and catch up with some content. The majority of these are legends, some of them aren't. I'll point them out as I go through, and I'm going to keep picking them off as we go so you know exactly which figures I'm talking about. So let's start with this one. Now this is my first, still to this day, one of the oldest things in my collection. This is the Spider-Man figure I got for Christmas or my birthday. It was the first super, look at that ab crunch and ab back. It was the first Spider-Man figure that I got, and he was the superposable Spidey. I remember being able to get this guy in insane poses when I was younger. Obviously, it doesn't add up now when you compare it to Legends and stuff, but really good for its time. Yeah, I was really happy to have that when I was a kid, and I'm still happy to have that very same figure now. Just such a good little figure. Moving on, you've seen these ones before, so I'll briefly talk about them. They're smaller than Marvel Legends, albeit borrowed some of the articulation and design. Black suit and normal suit. These are from Spider-Man 3. Said before, it's not the worst superhero film in the world. Not nearly the best, but, you know, I liked Sandman, and for what it's worth, I thought they did Sandman right. This is a battle-damaged Spider-Man, I'm pretty sure from the first movie with a showdown with the Goblin. Really, really nice figure, although he is yellowing in the skin now, which is a shame. He looks like he has jaundice, but there we go. Then this one, superposable Spidey. Problem being, I just thought his articulation was ugly, and I broke his head and had to do something to fix that, which is a shame, but it's not a bad figure. He still stands on the shelf. You can get him in some good poses, and for what it's worth, he's sculpted excellently. My girlfriend is currently cleaning up downstairs and singing along to music, so that's what you're hearing in the background. Straight away, so you've got the three movie Spider-Man figures. Try and stand up. Okay, is not wanting to stand for some reason. So yeah, the three movie Spider-Mans. Now I am aware I just showed you some movie Spider-Mans, but these are what I consider to be the best from each movie. So we'll start with this one. This is from the first Spider-Man film. It superposable Spidey, boasted 30 points of articulation on the box. Really nice range of motion in the neck. I always loved this Spidey. I can get this Spider-Man in a lot of really good poses. In fact, more so than some of the other figures here. So I will always have a soft spot for this Spider-Man figure. It will always be one of my favourite Spider-Man figures. This thing here, what can I say about this? First of all, right, I don't hate Tom Holland. He just isn't my favourite depiction of Spider-Man. Also, Hasbro really cheaped out when they gave us this. It's fairly recent. We didn't get nothing to hook on the back for his arms or anything, and then they've announced that Toy Fair they was doing a version with some more accessories and stuff. It's just cheap of Hasbro to do that. It's really lazy and cheap, and they could have given us that with this figure, but they just didn't, and that's a shame. But apart from that, I really like it. Excellent sculpt, excellent articulation. Looks really good on a shelf. It's just a shame it didn't come with those arm pieces, because they are really important to this suit. I'm going to leave him there a minute, because I just want to quickly show you. Now, unfortunately, when I bought this figure, mine had a load of QC issues. There's loads of paint missing on the webbing costume and stuff. I'm a really big fan of this figure, actually, and its articulation and stuff. It's just a shame mine came out pretty janky. A lot of people buy this one because you can just get away with it being a comic book Spider-Man. And this is the reason I left this one up there. What I like to do is, okay, I have a lot of comic book Spider-Man figures, as you can see. But if you pop the heads off and you do this head swap, I don't know if I've ever pointed that out on camera before, what you end up getting is a really nice, all-around comic book Spidey. So, like, I really like to use this one. I haven't for many photos, but I really do like this combination. I mean, so, yeah, no, I was happy with that, and it doesn't look terrible, does it? Actually, it looks pretty cool. But, yeah, so I wanted to point that out. What we on next? This one, I actually still really enjoy. Like, he was supposed to come with a cape, and mine doesn't have his, like, little web cape thing. But this Spider-Man is the first appearance Spider-Man. It's not got the best articulation as far as Legends goes. All the articulated, though. I have a soft spot for this Spider-Man. I absolutely do. It's not one of my favourites, but I absolutely love the fact that I have it on a shelf. And he just stands up so nicely next to the other Spider-Man figures. So really happy to have that one. This one was my first Marvel Legends Spider-Man figure, okay? And I rate this one very highly. I said it's a really good idea to get this one just for some of the poses you can get it in. Only problem being, he looks like the guy from Nightmare Before Christmas, Jack Skellington, in a Spider-Man costume. But what I actually really like this one for is, it's out of all the Legends, this one is the one that looks mostly like Spider-Man from the animated series. But yeah, good figure, really nice colour. Mine's starting to get loose and stuff now. But it's just really nice colours, very vibrant, very poseable. Just a good Spider-Man figure to have. Obviously, like some of the others, they're starting to get a bit dated, but not a bad figure by any standard. Then we'll go to this one. This is not a Marvel Legend, okay? It has a really weird articulation. You'd think that it could do like Marvel Legends stuff, but I mean, it doesn't even have no articulation in the foot. It's stuck like that. I think it was from the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon. Looks really goofy, but my girlfriend picked it up on a whim. It's mostly got single points of articulation, like you can see. Yeah, my girlfriend just picked me it up on a whim, and it's a Spider-Man figure, so I was happy to put it in my collection. And it's the guy from How I Met Your Mother, Barney, voicing Spider-Man in that series, by the way, which is pretty cool. I never knew that. Oh, God. We'll have to quickly shoot through these. So, I don't know which version of Spidey 299 this is. I don't think it's a Marvel Legends. I don't know whether it's from Spider-Man Classics. All I do know is it's got very limited articulation. There is articulation there. Double jointed elbows, but single jointed legs. He doesn't stand in a very good vanilla pose, but I really like it still. It's a nice version of him to have. I just wish I would have been able to get a cape for him, but I just really love the paint on him. He looks really nice. This one's Superior Spider-Man, so one of my favourite comic book runs in a long time was the whole Superior Spider-Man thing. Led me to Spider-Verse and whatnot, but really love this Spider-Man figure. I don't know how much this figure shares with the Pizza Spidey mould and the Symbiote Spidey mould, but I'm just going to come out and say I think this is my favourite mould for Spider-Man. They really hit it on the head with this figure. His articulation is insane. Really, really love this figure. He could have come with a few extra things like the wrist gauntlets and the pack that goes on his back, but just having a really cool version of Superior Spider-Man to put on a shelf was a big deal for me because he's actually one of my favourite comic book characters. One of my favourite versions of Spider-Man as well. This thing, I lost the arms. It's another one I've had since I was a kid. I think from the Spider-Man Classics line. It's shown its age now. It's not as good. And there was another version that had like reverse metallics on it. But I always liked this version. Like I said, it's shown its age now, but it wasn't a bad figure at the time. I actually really liked it. And it's still cool to just have on my shelf. Okay, so getting down to these last ones. These three here are my favourite Spider-Man figures in my collection. So you have the Hasbro Pizza Spidey. This is the retro wave version. I like the colours better. And just the original release of Pizza Spidey was so hard to get hold of. I had him in my hand once. Didn't have the money on me. Never saw him again. Same with a Daredevil in that wave. And I don't have a Daredevil figure, and that pisses me off all the time. But, you know, you got to just move on with it. So, yeah, there's that one. Then there's this one, which is the Symbiote Spider-Man. I only just got this not too long ago, and I'm in love with the thing. I've played with this more than nearly every other figure in my collection. And I was never a huge fan of the whole symbiote thing. I love how, I don't know, it has a lot of presence, this figure. When you're taking photos as well as just displaying it. It's a very nice Spider-Man figure to have. And I'm a big fan of Todd McFarlane, the way he does Spidey's arms and stuff. I'm pretty sure he has the best articulation as far as the legs go as well. Just a really good figure all around. But like I said, I think he actually shares a lot of the same body mould. If you compare them, a lot of it's the same as far as the body goes, or the buck, or whatever you want to call it anyway. Just really, really good figures. If I only had to have two Spider-Man figures, it maybe would only be these two. Really like them. Now this one is a Toybiz figure, and you know, before Hasbro took over, and if Hasbro never took over, I would say this is the Spider-Man to have, okay? This one, or the Todd McFarlane one, it's famously the McFarlane Spider-Man. From Spider-Man Classics, it was superposable, really good figure, but I just don't have that one. This is the Spider-Man I always had, and I'm still taking loads of photos with this one, because I just love the sculpt. The sculpt and the detail. I've said many, many times, Toybiz really knew how to make good figures. Just look at the paint and the sculpt on this thing. It's insane. They really knew what they was doing. I don't think Hasbro contend with Toybiz super well. Alright, they are making better figures now and stuff. But you just don't... It's that common phrase, they don't make them how they used to. And you do not get... it's like a McFarlane toy crossed with Hasbro. It really is. We'll never see the like of these Toybiz figures again, and they were done really, really well. A lot of them was anyway. Some of them not so well, but I mean, this Spider-Man is one of the perfect examples of why Toybiz, you know, lasted as long as they did, and also why they were changing the game as far as figures goes before anyone else. Just a really solid Spider-Man figure. And then lastly, this is a big one. I did have another big Spider-Man figure, but I think I donated it to this charity where you give it to underprivileged kids. I'm very happy to do anything like that. This one has a lot more articulation. Very nice stage shelf presence. I have this one stood up high on the top of my shelf. But you can just see now, I'll start from the legs. And you can just note the articulation that he has. Some of it's really weird in places, like why there's a cut on his thigh and then there as well is just, I don't know, asinine to me. But apart from that, I mean, he has double jointed elbows, which are really nice. His web hands look really nice, and then you go up to that head and it just looks really good. And he has a nice range of motion in the head as well. You can really get him to pose about. Some of these figures, they were skipped by the collector. I don't think a lot of people ended up getting this figure and then enjoying it as much as they should have, but it's a really good figure and it's out there. So there you go, guys, that'll do it for today. The next collection video I do will probably be the same format. It'll probably just be Batman. Probably. I can't do Iron Man and Captain America and stuff, because although I do like those guys, Spider-Man and Batman are my favourites, so I just own multiples and multiples of figures of them. And I will do Batman one next for you. Also, I'm going to do a movie discussion video soon, and I might do some PCA videos as well. Alright, peace guys, I'm going to leave it there. Goodbye.